Good morning, everyone. It's Ebony, and this is The Identity of She. We talk about self-love, being free in your identity, loving everything about yourself, your life, being free in your shape, size, your sexuality, your gender, and just loving everything about yourself and everything about your life, okay? All right, so before we start this episode, let's all just take a moment to reflect. Reflect on your choices and reflect on specifically who it is, if you're in a relationship, who you've chosen, right? And if you're single, who's the last person that you've dated? And think back to the last people that you've dated, okay? The title of this episode is How the Fuck Did We Get Here? How the fuck did we get here? We have become a society that is shallow, that is superficial, that is so focused on surface level shit that we don't even care about all of the deep intricacies that make a person being smart, a person being funny, a person being loyal. You know, and we say we want all those things, but let's keep it real. When an attractive person comes around, we ignore red flags. Like we don't see that shit. Like we're blind when it comes to red flags if a person is very attractive, right? A man sees a girl with a fat ass and he doesn't care how crazy she is. You know, a girl sees a real fine man and she don't care that he is probably fucking, you know, everybody on the planet. We ignore red flags so much when it comes to somebody that is attractive. Why are we so shallow? And the reason I thought about this was because I was on TikTok and this poor woman was just like, men are evil. And she talks about the fact that she went on a date with this guy and she sits down. So let me like paint the picture for you all. So she like walks into the restaurant and she notices that he's like still looking for her. Okay. And they met on Black or BLK, whichever one however you call it. So they met on a dating app. So she walks in and he's like looking around. He's looking around and she's like, hey, it's me, Tia. And the guy's like, oh, okay, we'll sit down. And so she sits down and she smiles. And then she says that he doesn't smile back at her. And then he proceeds to tell her that she doesn't look like her pictures. And she was just like, oh, okay. And then, you know, they go on the date, you know, they eat the food and everything like that. She said that she noticed that he was really, really quiet on the date and everything. And then she tells him that she didn't bring any money to the date. I don't understand why. Like, sis, why didn't you bring any money to the date? We're not just automatically assuming men are going to pay for everything. It's nice that men pay for dates. It's great. But like, don't show up to dates with no money because it just might end up being like really embarrassing for you, you know? Like, what if he doesn't have any money either? Like, how are you guys gonna get out of that shit together? Like, don't just automatically assume someone's gonna pay for you. Don't show up with no money. But she tells him, oh, well, like I left my money at home and I didn't bring any money. I didn't bring my wallet. And so he pays for the meal, okay? And then later he sends her a Cash App request for half of the bill. And she was just like, guys, like, how do I not look like my pictures? And I did some deep diving. I did some research on it because I saw that the internet was just like literally dragging this woman to fucking filth, like dragging her. And so I did some research and I looked at her profile and I'm going to keep it real with you guys. She did not look like her picture. Okay. And it got me thinking a few things. For one, when we're on these dating apps, are we supposed to, like, when we are posting pictures of ourselves, right? Obviously, we're posting really like the best representation of ourselves. Does that mean that we need to make sure that our weave looks good, our nails are done, our makeup is fucking flawless, like all of these things, if that is what is reflected on the profile picture? or if that's what is reflected on the app, right? And then I'm thinking like, okay, well, if you're posting pictures of yourself looking a certain way, you want to show up trying to look the way that you've represented yourself. Okay. So it almost looked like three different people because her profile picture looked completely different, like really, really different from the picture that she took of herself, which was on the night of the date. How did she look different? Okay, let's get down to it. Because you know me, I like to like deep dive. I like to dig deep, try to figure out what's going on here. Like, why is the internet dragging her? All right. So in her profile pictures, she has weave in. And then in her at her date, she's wearing natural hair. So that got me thinking like, okay, well, if you know you're representing yourself with weave, then okay, make sure you wear the weave to the date, or make sure you FaceTime and let them know like, hey, I don't have my weave in right now, like and check and make sure that they like natural hair. Some of you men will say like, oh, I want a natural woman. I want a natural woman. But y'all don't like natural features. Y'all don't like natural black features. Y'all don't like natural hair. Y'all don't like nappy hair, right? That 4C kinky curly hair. And let's keep it real. Some of you all don't like that shit. Statistically speaking, a lot of men, especially men here in Phoenix, like white women, like Latina women, like racially ambiguous women. So it makes us feel as Black women that we have to wear hair that emulates white girls and light-skinned girls and racially ambiguous women. All right. So that kind of got me thinking like, oh, maybe he just does not like her natural hair. So she wears her natural hair, even though in her profile picture, she is wearing weave. Okay. And I will say, just as a person who like I model and I have a clothing brand, so I'm always looking for models and things like that. So I'm trying to figure out what type of picture relates best rather with the clientele that I'm trying to serve. And for me, obviously, my audience is all women, and women, we celebrate a little bit more. We celebrate one another. I feel like we're a little bit less critical than men can be, especially when it comes to things like dating of that nature. We're a little bit less critical. So I feel like natural hair, like it's totally fucking fine. But perhaps for the guy, he might have felt like, well, her weave, I was expecting to see a 30-inch weave, right? I was expecting to see your wig, sis, and not the natural hair. All right. So there's that. Now, her profile picture and the pictures on her profile, her body looked completely different as well. Okay. Now, what I saw in her profile, because she took in on TikTok, she did a complete like scroll through of her profile, and she puts in her profile, I'm a chubby Black woman who likes anime and so and so and such and such. So she's telling whoever it is that is matching with her, I'm chubby. Like, she's not hiding it or anything like that. But what I noticed from her pictures is that it wasn't just great angles, because I'm an angle bitch. Like, I like posing myself in really, really good angles, right? Aren't we all like, women, come on now. We try to post the best angles, right? That's like what we do. We try to stick our booty out a little bit more. We try to stick our chest out a little bit more. Like, that is what we do. So it's not just about the angle, right? It was more so, it looked like these were pictures from maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And the person that she was now and showed up to the date body-wise looked completely different. So I understand why she did that. She probably felt like, oh, well, this person here, the skinnier person with the weave, is really what's going to make this guy be more attracted to me instead of what I actually look like, right? And it sucks. It really fucking sucks. Like, I feel that if she were to put her natural self out there the way that she represented herself on that date, I don't think she would have got as many matches. And it's like, let's keep it all the way real. Y'all are fat phobic and y'all want weave, okay? Y'all don't like natural hair as much. Y'all say y'all do, but y'all don't. And then if you do have natural hair, they want it to be curly and kinky and to look like racially ambiguous mixed looking, instead of it being the 4C and kinky hair that a lot of us Black women have. And it makes us feel like, well, shit, like, what am I supposed to do? I got to keep my weave in. I got to keep my makeup on. I got to essentially look like a fucking filter every single day, everywhere that I go, everywhere that I show up, just to feel like I can be with somebody. The fucking pressure, right? The pressure of having to make sure your hair looks good and your nails and your makeup and everything like that. Oh my goodness. So I feel for sis. She's on the internet like crying because she just felt like, she took time, and she's a beautiful woman. She took time out of her day to get dressed, to meet up with this guy. And he kept it real with her and said, you don't look like your pictures. And to be honest, he was right. She did not look like her pictures. Now, do I feel like the guy did anything wrong? He stayed throughout the date. And if he didn't want to, pay for the whole date, that's his prerogative. So I can't say like, oh, he should have still paid for the date. Like, so for her to say men are evil based off of that encounter, I don't feel is appropriate, because I feel like the guy is just being honest with her. So maybe she can look back at her profile and kind of adjust her profile with photos of what she looks like now. So like, what do we do with this information, right? I think it's one or the other. Either if you have decided, like, let's say you're on these dating apps and you're looking for somebody, right? Well, what you post on your profile, you want to make sure it relates, it looks correct in terms of what you're presenting yourself on your first date, because it is a first encounter, and it's very important. First impressions are lasting impressions. So that's really important. So I would say if you are rocking your natural hair, make sure you have a picture in your profile that has your natural hair. Okay. Whereas if you're a weave girl and you've always been a weave girl, just keep the weave in, right? Okay. For me, I'm just a weave girl. Like, I wear my natural hair every, blue moon for maybe like 5 seconds. And then I go right back to my weave, or I go right back to braids. Okay. But I really think, like, how the fuck did we get here? Because it wasn't about the guy that didn't, that told her you don't look like your pictures. It was more so everybody on TikTok dragging this woman who literally was crying, dragging her like, well, you catfish that man. You catfish that man. You looked a mess. Like this one Black lady, you looked a mess. Like, where is the compassion? Where is well, I'm sure you're a great person, sis, and the right man, you will find the right man. Where is okay, next time, just make sure there's a picture of what you look like today, naturally, with your natural hair, with your, your body, the way that it is in your profile. And maybe we all should look back, for those of us that are on dating apps, all look back at our profile pictures and our pictures that are on these dating apps and think like, maybe we do need to post a picture that doesn't have the perfect angle so that they can see like, we're not fucking perfect. And I want to let you guys know, like, nobody on this fucking planet is perfect. And for some reason, we think that the 10s out there, the super attractive people out there, who can be like super shitty people beneath the skin level, but because they're so attractive, we give them passes after passes, and we literally think that they're perfect simply because they have a fat ass or have big titties or what you would call a societal 10. I want you guys to understand that we have been brainwashed, okay? Brainwashed. All of these years upon years of seeing the same images of the same body types in the same skin tones in the same hair in the same, all of this stuff that we have been seeing on our TV screens and now all over the internet. And all of these things that we have been seeing have essentially brainwashed us. And we don't even fucking know. Like all we're doing is looking at what society has deemed as acceptable and deemed as gorgeous and deemed as a beauty standard. And that's what we want. What happened to beauty being in the eye of the beholder? What happened to beauty like being beyond what the fuck you look like and it being more so about your heart? I bet when they were sitting down, they had no conversation, literally no conversation about her heart and like what she does for a living and like things like that, like more than just what the fuck she looks like. And I will say, in terms of the guy, he could have broke it down a little bit softer, and sometimes people say things like, not everybody thinks about how the message is delivered. Some people just say shit just to say it, just because like they want the message to be delivered. I felt like he maybe could have been a little bit softer with how he said it, but the first thing he says when she sits down is, "You don't look like your pictures." Wow. And then there's a show that is trending on YouTube, and also it's like all over social media, called Pop the Balloon. And I talked about this last week on episodes before, where it's basically like pop the balloon if you find that person, if you don't find that person attractive. And if you keep the balloon, then it could potentially be a match. And to see women and men walk in and everybody's like, pop, 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 pop. I mean, damn, they haven't even said a word. And I know you guys have seen these like scenarios where it's a man or a woman judging one another. And there's like person after person that comes in and they're just like, "Hi, how are you?" "No." "Hey, no." It's like, damn. Like, you don't even have you can't even ask a person how they're doing. I want to remind everybody out there, especially the people that are on dating apps, like, these are fucking human beings. These aren't just like pictures that you're just, no, oh, too short, no, too big, no. These are actual people that live actual lives. And I think we forget about that, right? And Pop the Balloon. There was one guy that was just like, and it goes back to him, to the sassy man apocalypse. Like, he had the most sassy answer I've ever seen. He was just like this girl was gorgeous. She was a gorgeous woman, like super gorgeous woman. Had a really nice, like, cream colored dress on, fit really nice. She was just beautiful. And I've seen her, I've actually met her before because the show is shot in Phoenix, but I have some of these people I've seen before. So I've seen them in real life, but it's interesting seeing them on these shows, the Pop the Balloon shows. Okay. So the guy, Mr. Sassy Man, is like, "Yeah, I just feel like your style, like you could have just put on a watch or something, and you could have, had a little bit more jewelry on." What? I mean, that's the reason you popped your balloon? Is because she didn't have on a fucking watch? I mean, I just think that I think we're all living in like La La Land. We're living in like the Delulu land, like literally, it's giving delusional a little bit, thinking that we, think we deserve perfect tens. Are you perfect? Do you have the quote unquote perfect body? Why are you being so hard and so harsh and not actually getting a chance to even know somebody? And to the people that said, because there was a lot of people that commented on TikTok and that were like, well, yeah, I wouldn't have even stayed for the date. I would have gotten up and walked out. How fucking rude. How rude of somebody. Oh, well, you misrepresented yourself. You lied to me. You don't look like, you catfished me. Okay, and yeah, she didn't look like her pictures, okay? So the fuck what? She still came on the date. You mean to tell me you would just walk out? You would just not go back in? Well, I don't want my time wasted. Okay, it just shows how, again, shallow you are, how superficial you are, and how fucking rude you are. You already planned to be there for an hour or 2 hours. So because the person doesn't look the way you envision them to look like, or even though they don't look like what they represented themselves to look like, you can't take an hour or 2 out of your day just to get to know a fucking human? What is our world coming to? Sooner or later, I give it 5 or 10 years, some of y'all are gonna start dating robots. Because y'all want perfect people so bad that you're going to literally build a motherfucker. And that's going to be the person that you date. Because people don't want real people anymore. They want AIs. I saw a comment that was like, people accepting compliments on these AI photos is wild. Truth, it is wild because that is not you. Have we gotten so far gone with the filters and all of this stuff that we don't even know who the fuck we are anymore? Who are you underneath the makeup and underneath the filters and underneath the perfect angles? Can we take a moment from swiping to actually get a chance to really get to know somebody for who they are before just writing them off based off of how they look? It's so sad. It really is. And the amount of people that like trash this woman were I was just like, my goodness. Nobody was like, oh, sis, like, here's what you can do. So I'm going to tell her, here's what you can do. And like I said, just post a picture in your natural hair, post a recent picture, add one of those to your profile so you can see that that's you too. And I'm not going to say it looked like her profile picture was AI. It didn't look like her profile picture was AI, but it looked like her profile picture was just very old. So just updating your pictures, okay? Because we don't want to deceive people. We don't want to catfish people. I get it, you know? And I do understand that you want to be attracted to people. I get it. However, your basis of attraction to people has been brainwashed from society. Society has put ad upon ad, campaign upon campaign, strategically placed in our lives from the time that we even started looking at a TV at a very young age to make us believe that the European beauty standard is the standard. And it makes it very, very hard on everybody. But it makes it especially hard on people that look nothing fucking like the European beauty standard. It makes it so challenging and so difficult. And then we do all this and we say all this and we have all these expectations of how your body should look and how your face should look and how your makeup should look and everything like that. Your eyebrows should be this way and your lashes should look like this. And then we tell you to love yourself. Wow. To me, loving yourself, you have to love yourself beyond all the extra things that you've put on you have to love yourself with no makeup on. And I know that's hard. as I sit here with makeup on. Like, you have to love yourself without all of the filters and without all of the extra things, right? How can we do that? It takes one step at a time, one day at a time, but it takes a person to really deep dive and shut everybody else off and truly like love yourself deep down within. I think all of us are a little shallow. I really, truly, truly think that. All of us are a little superficial. And I think that we need to be like smacked with a little reality, right? I really think that. I think when it goes back to pop the balloon, like, damn, can the person say a word about who, like, y'all didn't even give the person a chance. They walk in and everybody's like, pop, 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 pop. Like, my goodness. Give the person a chance to actually say who they are and where they're from and something about what they do and, you know, what gets them up in the morning and what excites them. But we're so quick on trying to find somebody and trying to find what we feel is the perfect person for us that we often forget about the fact that as we are swiping, again, these are people. These are people, guys. I feel like I need to say that over and over again because we forget. Oh, my goodness, the shallowness of the world. In terms of being superficial, what defines being superficial? Well, it's really just the lack of depth, the lack of, thinking that everything is based off of material things. Everything's surface level. So everything's based off of how you look and what you look like and how much you weigh and everything like that. And the hard part about the shallowness and the superficialness of it all is that it makes it so difficult for every single body to adhere to what it is that we feel society wants from us. And for me, I'm here to tell you, fuck what society wants. What is it that you want from you? You need to find somebody that loves you with natural hair, that loves you with weave, that loves you with lashes, that loves you without lashes, that you need to find somebody that loves you unconditionally, right? And I know that takes time, but it's not impossible. Your person is out there. Why is it that we have become so shallow? I definitely feel like the dating apps have made us that way. Societal beauty standards have made us that way. And I also feel that we've just somehow, as we've, gotten become more in touch with technology and things like that, and because of filters and because of all of these things, it's like we've just kind of lost touch with who a real human is, who a real person is. Okay. Now, is it bad to call someone shallow? No. I think it's in how do you suggest, like, hey, you might be a little bit shallow. I would say that's probably a great way to say it in a nice and loving and soft way. Is saying like, hey, I think you might just be a little shallow. And I think you should, think a little bit more about what they look like. Oh, think beyond what they look like. Okay. Ask more questions than, ladies, how tall are you? You know how many ladies reject men based off of height? It's ladies 5'4" that are like, I need a man that's 6 feet and over. Girl, you are 5'4". What the hell? I'm just like, and then that's the thing when it comes to things like height, when it comes to things like body size, like, yes, you can lose weight, things like that. But I'm talking about a person's like identity. Like, a person cannot change their height. Okay. Now, I did see that there was some sort of surgery out there where a guy was able to extend his knees and he went from he had surgery and he went from being 5'8" to 6 feet. And like he had to go a whole year without walking. I'm like, is it that serious? And then I think about all the girlies, like, not like it's anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with getting work done. I just encourage you, before you do it, for one, do your research. And for two, make sure you're doing it for you and not because you think that you'll find love or you'll find somebody or you'll have a better dating pool if you have a bigger butt or if you have a flatter stomach. Like, do it for you. And I think a big reason as to why a lot of people get work done is because they want the attention from other people. And it's hard to even probably admit that. Because what, like, you want to get a bigger butt to feel like, oh, I have a bigger butt. Like, no, it's to get the attention from other people. And it might be to increase your dating pool because we know what men are looking for: big butts, big titties, and a flat stomach. But understand the risk of it all, right? Risking your life, getting surgery, right? Having to be down for weeks upon weeks. And then the worst part of it all is you might get the work done, right? It might look good for a year or two, and then all of a sudden you gain that shit right back. I know girls who have gotten work done, gotten like the 360 or the tummy tuck or the mommy makeover, and sure enough, in a year or two, they've gained, I mean, not all the weight back in their stomach, but they've gained a little bit of it back in their stomach. And then you got to go back and you got to go back, and it just becomes more and more addicting. So if you are considering like getting work done, understand the why. It goes back to the why. Why are you getting work done in the first place? Is it for you, or is it because you feel like you'll be better accepted by society? And it's hard to think that way. Like, oh, well, me naturally, I'm less accepted by society. It's hard to admit that, right? It's hard to admit as a plus size woman, like, oh, well, I'm less accepted by society. Is the reason that you are changing yourself because you think that society is going to find you more beautiful? Before you even answer that question, do you even find yourself beautiful? Or have you been so consumed with what society thinks and with what people have said and with all with what's going on in the media and with what people are choosing as their partners, and you're seeing like, oh, well, these women that are getting flued out, they don't look anything like me and I need to be like them, so I've got to change everything about myself, starting with my physical appearance. Is that love? Or is that trying to conform to what you think is going to make people love you? Okay. So we talked about just what our world has come to in terms of the shallowness, the lack of depth, in terms of the being shallow and then also being superficial. So focused on what's on the outside and not giving a shit about what's on the inside. Like, does the inside even matter anymore? Does it even matter that you're a good person? Or does it just matter that you have a fat ass? Does it even matter that you're loving and that you're sweet and that you're kind and that you're funny? And one thing I really think about, guys, is when it's all said and done, when you think about your life at the end, right? You being loving and sweet and kind and an amazing daughter, an amazing friend, an amazing human, that's what's written on your tombstone. Not, oh, she's a 10, she has a nice body. So when we think about the things that really truly matter, not just right now while we're in our 20s or our 30s or our 40s, but when it comes down to the whole trajectory of our lives, what is it that truly matters? And so much of us are so focused on what we look like on the outside that we have yet to really talk about or really try to heal all of the wounds that have hurt us deeply on the inside. So it's just something to think about. How did we even get here? And how is it that we have become this way? And where can we go back? Go back to, like, was there ever a time where we looked at people for who they are and not just, oh, swipe, 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 you know? I would want to go back to the days where you can meet a person and actually genuinely connect and get to know them versus it just being about like first impressions based solely upon what you look like. Yeah, so I saw that. So we talked about the catfishing, the pop a balloon. Okay, now this one's for the guys. Okay, so this guy, I don't know if you saw this one trending, but he had on literally a matching fit, like polo shirt, polo shoes. And this girl just like completely dragged him. She was just like, oh, what the fuck you got on? Like that shit. And then he was like leaving like Whataburger. And she was just like, what do you have on? Like that shit's not fresh. Like that shit's not clean. Like, and I'm just like, what is wrong with this? Like, again, it's giving delusional. First of all, this man is dressed nice. He's matching. And second of all, you took time out of your day instead of actually getting to know this person to pick up your phone and essentially record him and say all of these things about how bad you think he looks. And the reason that we do that stuff, or the reason that people do that stuff rather, is people like hurt people. That's the truth. Is it takes a really fucked up person to pick up their phone and just start rambling on about somebody as if that person is not a person. And then we say like, oh, well, it's the internet. Like, you know what you signed up for. Oh, really? So just because I'm on the internet, that gives you a right to talk about me like a fucking dog? To ridicule me, to ridicule my fit, ridicule my outfit, to like completely disregard who I am as a person solely based off of what I put on my body? Can we start actually getting to know one another? And can we be softer, more polite, more friendly, and connect human to human? We don't know the shit that people are going through. Going back to sis and the natural hair sis, like, we don't know the type of struggles that she's gone through. We don't know how much that she's worked on trying, like how long it took her to prepare herself for this date. All I know is it takes a bold and confident person to put themselves out there on an app, put themselves out there meeting someone for the first time. And the first thing you fucking say instead of, hi, how are you? Hey, like, tell me a little bit about yourself is you don't look like your pictures. I get it. Yes, she catfished him, but can we think a little bit deeper? Can we dig a little deeper instead of thinking like, oh, well, you weren't what I expected. So I'm not interested. You deceived me. And so it's a no for me. Or the guys that instantly reject women on these dating shows and these things that you're seeing on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, where a ton of like a woman comes and then a guy is just like, no, next, no, next. And I've seen it on both sides. It's just like society has literally gone to shit when it comes to picking your significant other. And that's why I feel like so many people are single and so many people are in and out of relationships, is because the way that you connected wasn't genuine from the first place. It was surface level. It didn't have any depth to it. And the conversations were probably like, hey, how are you? And, how big are your titties? Like, that's probably, surface level conversations instead of deep depth conversations like, oh, well, where did you grow up? And like, what it is, like, tell me how'd you get into the job that you've got into? What is your 5-year plan? What gets you going in the morning? What's a dream that you've always wanted to accomplish? I really, truly hope that we turn things around. It doesn't look like we will, but I really hope we turn things around for a better world. And I really encourage you to think beyond the surface and really get to know someone for who they are, their heart. Like, that should matter. Stop ignoring red flags just because he's fine, sis. Stop. Oh, well, he's 6'5", so it doesn't matter. Okay. But if you're looking for someone to actually build a life with, what's beyond the surface level matters. And you might ignore it for the first month or the second month or the third month, but eventually you're going to, like, that shit will come full circle. Yeah. I dated a guy once, and yeah, he was very attractive, but like, he just could not talk worth a damn. Like, every time he would talk in circles. I felt like you needed to write down what he had to say because it just didn't make any fucking sense. He was like one of the people that, if people ask him, oh, how are you doing? I felt like I should just answer for him because he would go into like all kinds of scenarios and all these, like, especially when he was smoking, like, oh my goodness. It's like nothing he said made sense. So I really want you to connect with someone beyond surface level. And I'm challenging myself as well to connect with someone beyond the surface level and to stop ignoring red flags just because a person is attractive. Pretty privilege is real. It's the truth. Statistically speaking, pretty people and attractive people, what society has deemed as attractive people, they get away with so much more stuff. Even like criminally, right? There's studies out there that say that attractive people get less jail time simply because they're attractive. How crazy is that? Because of how you look, you're just treated a certain way. And how, like, kind of fucked up is that, right? Simply because of how you look, that's how society base how they're going to treat you, as if everything else is completely irrelevant. And then you've got so many people out there that are so focused on how to enhance their features that they don't even give a fuck about, like, things like going back to school or starting a business or becoming more like financially literate. It's all about, how can I enhance my features? And why am I enhancing my features? So I can be more accepted by society. Again, how the fuck did we get here? So when we ask, like, okay, what is a shallow person? Again, person that lacks depth, a person that sees things that on the surface level. All right. I also think about like the movie Shallow Hal, like Hal he just wanted what society deemed as like the model type perfect 10 all the time. That's all he went out for. That's all he saw. And it wasn't until, if you saw the movie, it wasn't until he was, quote, like essentially brainwashed, which the character, I think it was Tony Robbins, that essentially brainwashed him, said, I'm actually de-brainwashing him. He's been brainwashed his whole life. And then he ends up falling for a woman that is larger, simply because he finally got a chance to see beyond skin deep. He finally got a chance to see her for her heart. So as you're listening to this episode, I really just encourage you, the next time you swipe, the next person you match with, look beyond the profile picture and really truly get a chance to know that person. And how will you do this? Because I think about this for myself. Like, how am I going to do this? All right. I think the best way to really get to know somebody, especially if they have iPhone, FaceTime. I think it's a perfect solution. I think if sis would have FaceTime dude before the date, she could have been like, said like, hey, like, this is my natural hair. Here's what I look like today. Like, take it or leave it. Like, FaceTime. I think that is really a good way to connect with somebody and truly like see them, get to know them. And I think that more people should utilize talking on the phone and FaceTime and doing things like that and connecting prior to physically meeting. Because once you physically meet, it has like a lot of pressure in terms of how you carry yourself and what you're going to do and how you're going to look. And for ladies, what you're going to wear. I mean, men, what you're going to wear is important too. But there's way more pressure on us ladies. There just is. There is. From the makeup to the hair to the outfit, everything, to the shoes, to the toes. I'm in quite a few groups on Facebook. And when I say the sassy men, like if you're wondering why I keep saying that, I had a previous episode where I was talking about the sassy men apocalypse and the cheap men apocalypse. And one thing I've said about the sassy men is like, it seems that the shallowness, the lack of depth has gone to a whole level of it's kind of giving femininity a little bit in terms of the shallowness. Like this guy posted on a group, mind you, it's not a dating group. It's a group. Just so you guys know, it's a group of just tall people. It's like a tall group. Okay. And he was just like, yeah, my name is such and such, and I have 0 kids, and I'm looking for a woman with 0 kids. And I'm very adamant that she has no kids. Like, okay, we fucking get it. And then he was just like, yeah, she has to have pretty hands and very pretty feet. And one of the comments was like, well, do you have pretty feet? Like I was, like for the men that are just like, oh, your feet have to look really, really good. Like, okay, well, I hope that you're not the type of man who just, your feet look like atrocious. Like, I hope you're taking care of yourself too. As you're having all of these standards for everybody else, relate that shit back to yourself. So many people deflect, right? They have their own issues and their own insecurities, and they deflect that shit onto other people. I'm deflecting what it is I'm going through and my own issues onto you. So I don't have it, but you got to have it. Doesn't make any sense. Now, I've said this before, a previous episode where this guy on Pop the Balloon was like, I just want a woman that's more fit. And he was talking to a friend of mine, Jessica, and who has actually lost a significant amount of weight, but she's still very, very curvy. And he was just like, yeah, it just needs to be a little bit more fit. And he wasn't fit himself. Sir, the audacity. What is going on? People tend to deflect. They deflect from what it is that they truly want and who they truly are, and they deflect, and they also kind of put their insecurities onto others, right? That's what people do. And I think people just need to get to know themselves a little bit more, and they need to get to know what it is that they want beyond, again, guys, I cannot say this enough, beyond surface level, what it is that you truly, truly want. I think for a lot of people, they just want somebody that they can put on their arm. I want somebody I can post on my Instagram. I want, arm candy, eye candy. That's it. So let's unpack that. You essentially want somebody that other people are going to look at you and think of you a certain way based off of this person that's on your arm. Really? Who gives a fuck about what other people think about you? Why are we so obsessed with, I got to have the baddest bitch on my arm so motherfuckers know who I got? Why does that even matter? Instead of having the woman that's willing to be there for you when you're at your lowest, that's willing to help you grind the shit out. That, God forbid you get cancer, she's willing to be by your side every step of the way. God forbid you go to jail, she's willing to ride that bid out with you. Like, we are, again, so focused on like surface level shit. And that surface level shit is so dependent upon what other people think and other people's perception. I really want you to sit back after listening to this episode and literally write down what it is that you are looking for in somebody. And I want you to think about, as you're writing it down, we've got some time so we can do this little activity together. I want you to write down everything that is you want. And don't deter just because I said the surface level stuff, still put the physical stuff, right? Because that's part of the activity. Put the physical stuff, everything that you want, height, weight, all of it, whether you want clean cut, whether you want locks, well, all of it. And after you write it down, I want you to really look at it and see how many things you wrote down have to do with surface level stuff, meaning the outer appearance, versus what has to do with the inner appearance. And if you've realized that you've got 15 things, from he's got to be 6 feet and over, to he's got to have a beard, to he's got to be clean cut, to he's got to dress nice, to he has to be fit, to he has, if you've got 15 things on your list, all based off of what he looks like on the outside, and on the inside, it's just like, oh, he just has to be loyal. Something's off. Something's not right. And we've got to fix it. I want to see us become a society that is more than just surface level shit. And I want to see, and I think it's so encouraging to see different types of humans get together. Humans that you wouldn't expect to get together. Because it shows that it's not always about what the fuck you look like on the outside. We know that beauty fades. You might not look like that in 10, 15 years. That BBL that you got, that booty might not sit up as high in 10 or 15 years. The stomach that you got sucked out, what's it called? The lipo, the tummy tuck, it might not be tucked in another 10 years. Can we think beyond surface level things like your heart, like your upbringing, things that you've gone through, like what your triggers are? Can we actually do life together? And maybe if we think beyond superficial things, our relationships would last longer and we wouldn't find ourselves in and out and in and out and in and out of relationships or going from one dating, dating one person to dating this person to dating this person. It's become so easy to find someone. And because it's so easy to find someone, it's like we're on to the next best thing. Like, oh, here's this person. Oh, I'm on to the next. Oh, I'm on to the next. Oh, I'm on to the next. Forgetting that this is an actual person. Again, it's not just a picture on a screen. There's a human behind it. So remember that. Other things to think about. How can we have more depth to us? I think it's just taking breaks off of like things that you've been like conditioned to believe, right? That's why I think it's so important for me. And I would suggest women and men, if you guys want to do this, is to follow people of all shapes and sizes living their lives, all shapes and sizes. That's what I really enjoy seeing on my feed because it reminds me that not everybody, looks like Beyonce. Not everybody looks like Kim Kardashian. There are real people out there. And some of these people have tummies. Some of these people don't have flat booties. Some of these people have no titties. There's real people out there that don't look like the cookie cutter standard. Cat Williams said something in an interview that I thought was really interesting. And he was just like, well, yeah, if you look up, everybody's wife looks the same. And like he mentioned I can't remember all the celebrities that he mentioned, but I remember like seeing it later on Instagram and somebody did like a literal slideshow of every single celebrity he mentioned and every one of their wives looked the exact same. What they look like? Okay, you asked. Light skin, weave, big booty, no tummy. That's how they looked. Stop looking to celebrities to show you what a baddie is. Stop. Think about what you truly want outside of surface level bullshit. And I know it's hard because we've been brainwashed, but think about a person's heart and their mind and the characteristics about themselves outside of what the fuck they look like. The inner beauty and not just the outer beauty. If we can think about those things a little bit more, maybe we'll end up in happier and healthier relationships that have depth and that are more than just eye candy and somebody cute to post on Instagram and somebody cute to have on your arm. So thank you all so much for listening to this episode. The episode again was titled, How the Fuck Did We Get Here? This is Ebony. The Identity is She, all about self-love, being free in your identity, no matter your shape, size, sexuality, and just loving everything about yourself, everything about your life. I often give you guys new perspectives, new things to think about, new things to consider. So I really hope that you all give this one a good listen and really think about, am I shallow? Have I been brainwashed? Am I superficial? In my next relationship, can I think beyond the surface level? All right, you all. I hope you guys have a great rest of your morning.